So thank you all for joining us today. This is a very informal webinar. We are here to share information with you about no-click search and why some of your reports are looking a little frightening. But fear not, we know what it is and we know how to fix it, and we just wanted to go through some of that content with you. Coral, do you have a deck?
I got about halfway through that deck yesterday and then my blood pressure spiked.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we are going to talk about, let me let me get back to my notes. Um, and apparently, let me get back to my reading glasses, which have disappeared. So as some of you have noticed, your traffic to your website is coming down. And part of that is because of something called zero-click search. Um, Zero-click search is stealing your click-through traffic. And a good example of zero-click search for you would be checking the weather, checking a sports score, the definition of a word, a how-to. Um, but it's expanding and it's becoming a real inconvenience for people that are trying to market and companies like ours that are trying to market for our clients. And it is becoming a huge tidal wave that is reshaping the entire landscape of digital traffic and SEO. So today we're going to talk about zero click search and why it's growing, how AI and AOI, answer-oriented interfaces like Google Search, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and others are reducing traffic to traditional websites, what you can do to fight back, and how to still win clicks in a world where there's nobody, where nobody wants to click. So just some housekeeping and ground rules. This is not a bunch of talking heads. Feel free to ask questions as we're going through. We will save time at the end, but I think it's better if we answer on the fly because we don't want to forget what we were talking about when you asked the question. Feel free to share contact information. Most of you are clients. We will be recording this and sending it out after the fact. Coral, Corey, have I missed any housekeeping?
Introductions.
That was my next thing.
That's
Um,
it though.
that was my next thing. So I am Gina Ramsey. I own Pink Dog Digital. We are a full service digital marketing and advertising company. And this is Coral Norman and Corey in my phone, W, because I destroy his last name on the regular. So I will let them introduce themselves so I don't do that to him. Coral?
Hey, I'm Coral Norman. Most of you know me. I am Gina's right hand, left foot, right foot, depending on the day.
All the things.
Um, yeah, all the things. So I am the director of digital media here. I do a lot of back and forth contact with clients, a lot of working on strategy, figuring out what's going on in the world of digital, making sure that you all are up to date with all of that and that everything's staying up to date on websites and SEO and helping, kind of move things along. So always happy to answer questions. Looking forward to this webinar.
Awesome. Corey?
Hey guys, my name is Corey Wasilzik, and I'm the digital media strategist at Pink Dog. I primarily work with advertising campaigns, SEO campaigns, digital content, content strategy, a little bit of social strategy. I kind of do a little bit of everything if it has anything to do with digital marketing.
And now he is also going to be working on AI optimization,
Yep.
which we will talk about. Corey and Coral, I'm going to go through kind of a presentation here, interrupt at will. because you have valuable insight and are probably more deeply engrossed in this than I am. Audience members, if we get into too much geek speak, please, please, please raise a hand, stop us, let us dial it back so that we're speaking in regular English, not our English. I recognize that sometimes we can go down a rabbit hole. Are we good?
And I also have up real quick from, what Gina brought up originally. Can you see my screen? I don't know.
Yep.
If you could. Okay. This is an AI overview. This is what is stealing those clicks. So I know we've talked about like different things, but what is digital marketing is one that is obviously pertains well to what we do. So it'll pop up with the AI overview, a more detailed breakdown where it's pulling it from different places. And then, you can click on these and get a little bit more information on another AI overview. So it's basically doing everything that it can to keep you within Google. They do have articles and things over here, but this is kind of what you're starting with, and why we're seeing fewer clicks is because people are getting those answers so quickly.
All right, you're ahead of me, so hang on.
Pulling it over to Gina now. Just wanted to show it off.
You're ahead of me. Hang tight. Hang tight. So Coral's got a very good example of what a zero-click search is. It's any search where the user gets their answer without clicking on a results page. So for example, if I typed in best apartments in Baltimore, Laren Management may come up as an answer. And if it does, it'll show the different apartment buildings. I don't really care about Laren Management. I care about the apartment complexes. And I can see right in that search that I want to go check out this place because it's around the corner for me. I don't need to click to Laren Management to get that. It better be the best. You know it, Dan. It is the best apartment. Some ones that you've used, or examples of ones that you used, are weather in Baltimore, calories in avocado, LeBron James's height, how to tie a tie. But what we're finding is that people are starting to use it for more complex questions. It is, and as Coral demonstrated, it is being seen in featured snippets. People also ask boxes, Google Maps, the knowledge panels, and the generative overviews, the AIOs. So it's interesting. In 2020, over 65% of Google searches ended without a click, and now it's even higher due to the AI snapshots. And on mobile, it's higher. So it looks like about 77% of searches are resulting in zero clicks. What this means to you as a business owner is that your clicks to your website are going to go down. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that we're doing anything wrong. It's that Google is trying to assist the user with information without them having to do things. So, Google is trying to keep people on their platform. They are trying to show more ads, and they're trying to scrape your content. And that is why they're trying to keep you on that page. So what it means is less traffic, lower click-through rates, fewer leads, and fewer sales. You could, back in the day, it was all about being number one, page one. And now you could still be number one, page one, and still not get a single click. The AIOs are really creating that problem in a new way that we haven't seen in the past. AIOs have only been around since May of last year. So we're looking at this a year out, and we're seeing the trends, and we as a company are trying to get ahead of that trend and are trying to strategize ways, number one, to keep your traffic high, but more importantly, rather than worrying about the number of clicks, worrying about the number of leads. And Corey's going to talk about lead gen and the ROI rather than vanity numbers like visitors and visits and users. Corey, Coral, before I get into part 2, do you guys have anything to add here?
Sure. Yeah. I would say that one of the things that we are really noticing with AIOs in particular is that AIOs are really being utilized for more informational type queries. So when you ask Google, what was the score of the Orioles game last night? Or what's a good Italian restaurant near me? These are queries that are looking for information. And this is I think important to recognize because you you're going to end up losing traffic on queries that are more informational based and not necessarily sales based. They have a very low buyer intent. And what we want to do is, in the past, what we did to try to get website numbers up was to really target those informational type searches with long tail keywords. And the idea was is that you tried to rank high for long tail keywords, and as you built up that base, you raised up the performance of the website as a whole, right? With AI overviews, what we're seeing is that those informational searches are leading to no clicks or very little clicks. I mean, in some cases, we're seeing drops of upwards of 70% of click-through rate. And since click-through rate is one of the things that Google utilizes when it determines authority, that can really make a big dent in the foundational bit of SEO that we had done in the past. However, there's also new opportunities to get the brand in front of eyes, even if it is at the moment kind of tough to actually measure that impact.
All of that is correct. The corollary to that is some of the content that we are currently utilizing in those long tail keyword phrases are ranking in the AOI. I did a search for best hardwood floor refinisher in Baltimore. And in the summary AOI that came up, our client Signature Hardwood Floors appeared in that AOI, which was awesome. The other thing that we're finding is that other platforms are utilizing those long tail keyword searches and indexing that content there. Better than 30% of searches for products and services come through Pinterest, of all places. And if you go to Pinterest and you type hardwood floors or how to refinish hardwood floors, some of the articles that we've written for Signature Hardwood Floors appears in Pinterest search. So not only is there a technological shift and a shift in the way people are searching, but there is a shift in the locations people are searching. And we need to make sure, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, we need to make sure that we're not just being laser focused on Google, but looking at all of the platforms, all of the places that people search to look for information.
Yeah, and I would add to that that I I can't remember where I read this in my prep, but I remember reading that Google's own research has shown that I think almost 40% of Gen Z begin searching for something through either TikTok or Instagram, and they don't start on Google. So that it provides a clue as to, some of the ways that we can sort of counteract the decline in Google traffic is by really diversifying the platforms that you're focusing on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've also been watching my my younger friends that are, Gen Z cusp millennials around there, and most of them will go to ChatGPT or Gemini before they touch Google at this point and ask the questions there because they get more full answers. So we're also seeing a lot of searches happening in there, which I know
Uh,
Gina's going to cover in a minute, but it's
yeah,
definitely more common.
and one last thing is that even though we're saying that there's a lot more search going on outside of Google, that isn't to say that Google is really dying, because Google, every single time that they put out a press release or they have like a informational meeting, like in their last what was it, the marketing live, they're
Mhm.
always saying that Google search is continually increasing year after year after year. So there are a lot of searches happening. It's just that, fewer of them are turning into actual clicks.
Correct. The other thing that we are seeing is a rise in Bing traffic because Bing is feeding ChatGPT. So when we get into some of the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about, adding Bing Webmaster Tools, not just Google Webmaster Tools, so that we can submit content to Bing and ultimately to ChatGPT is going to help grow your business in the long run. So, with that, do we have any questions from the audience before I roll into AI a little bit?
You can either pop them in chat or raise your hand, whatever works for you, if you've got anything.
All right, I'll keep rolling. Stop me if we get something. So these mysterious AOIs that we're talking about, answer-oriented interfaces, are platforms or search experiences that give users direct answers rather than just a list of links. Right now, the Google search generative experience is the big one: ChatGPT, ChatGPT search, Perplexity, Bing AI, Claude. I mean, there's a million of them. So we're going to see more and more of those. Again, we've talked about best CRM for small businesses. Now in ChatGPT, that's going to summarize all of those platforms into a few bullet points, give you pros and cons and links to just one site, if that, which means a lot of sites are skipped. And without tracking where you're appearing in AO and AI, AIO, you're never going to know that you were skipped. You're just going to see traffic come down. Google SGE is a mini chat GPT inside a search. Incidentally, AI mode in Google has just been rolled out ac across the US and into India. When you do a Google search, now you're going to automatically get the all tab in search results. But if you look to that left of that all tab, you're now going to see AI mode. Again, Google SGE is like a mini chat GPT. They're pulling content from your website. So, it's going to be a paragraph summary. When I did the search for Signature Hardwood Floors, it gave me the first paragraph on their homepage. Signature Hardwood Floors was founded in 2004, blah, 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 blah. So if your content on your website doesn't tell your story, Google's not going to pick it up. Perplexity combines AI answers with sources, and they're going to show 3 to 5 sources. So if you're not providing content that they feel comfortable sourcing from, they're not going to show your site. All of this to say, we're going to get to the what can we do, and content is going to be the answer. I know some of the people in the room, we talked about how they don't necessarily need content on their website, just because they're very location specific, that kind of thing. We're getting to a point where you may not need to do things like blogs or articles, but FAQ pages, beefing up the content on your website to include bullet points about your products or service offerings, location offerings, what apartment has which swimming pool, hot tub, whatever. Those kinds of things are going to be really mission critical to drive traffic. Corey, Coral, Savannah.
Yeah, so one of the ways that we could mitigate some of the impact of AI search is to kind of double down on a lot of the content best practices that have been established over the last couple of years with some augmentation. Um, Good SEO best practices are still very relevant. So you want to have your content formatted in a specific way. You want to make sure you're using keywords, um, a logical header formatting is very key for the search engines to be able to read it properly. And when I say search engines, I also mean um, the AI LLM models that learn from the webs because they are basically kind of more sophisticated versions of Google's search crawlers. Um, the way that we augment it is by, as Gina mentioned, going into queries that are question oriented, things that you would put into a ChatGPT or some other AI LLM tool, seeking information on and building content based off of that. You want to think in terms of like answer snippets is the term that I kept seeing thrown around. You want to look at things like the people also ask tab and find, what are the questions that people are asking about your industry and seeing if you can become the authority on that. And I know we talk about this all the time on our blog, and it feels almost like it's a cliche at times, but Google still emphasizes the acronym EEAT: expertise, experience, authority, trustworthiness. If you go on the Google's blog, like their developers blog or their developers, like they have like a whole website dedicated to SEO and it's updated regularly, but they all say basically as long as your content is helpful and addresses user questions and concerns or their need to seek information, Google's going to rank your content well. And that's not just for SEO, for traditional search. It's also going to be for their AI overviews and their other featured snippets and other areas of zero click.
Yep.
And as Gina pointed out, when she was talking about some different ways as well, the FAQ pages specifically, those tend to do really well because they answer those types of questions in a very easy format for Google to understand. So we have our FAQ page that we update on I think currently we're updating it on a monthly basis. We were doing it weekly for a long time, but we also didn't want to get into questions at that point that were just either repetitive or um, redundant or questions that didn't really matter. So the main thing we're doing at this point is we're at a point now where we have so many FAQs on that page that we're updating it a little less regularly. But it is the page that indexes, I think, the best on our site and that tends to get the absolute most clicks and the most engagement. So I cannot recommend enough if you don't have an FAQ page on your site that you're consistently adding to. That is a really, really great way to give Google the information that they want and to make sure that, you're still getting those views on your site.
And they just gave me a great segue into what you can do. Just to go back to what Corey was talking about, LLM is a large language model, and ChatGPT is an example of an LLM. Again, that's sometimes where we go down the rabbit hole of geek speak. So now that we've told you all the horrible things that are happening on your website, let's talk about some of the things that we can do. And this is where strategy and smart content win. We alluded to this. Create content that can't be answered in a snippet. We're going to tell you to do snippet stuff too. But there are some content that people are going to have to click through to get the information. A detailed case study, a personal story, a video tutorial, something behind a gate or a paywall where you have to register to get the information, an emotional brand story, a product comparison. You know, Corey did a case study on how a human written blog post performs, I'm going to screw the numbers up, like 68% of the time better than an AI written blog post. That content is gold because people have to read that. You know, emotional stories. We had a client, actually the client's in the room. Their son passed away tragically. And when their son passed away several years ago, they planted a tree, and recently they posted a picture of that tree and where it is now. That post went viral, and I can't even tell you how many views that particular post got, and made that platform go viral for them. So you want to build content that makes the users want to click in to get the full picture. A business example would be, instead of top 10 CRMs, try why we switched from Salesforce to HubSpot and what we learned. AI cannot summarize that information in a snippet. You want to double down on branded search. You can't control every search, but you can control people searching for you. So optimize for, Pink Dog Digital plus reviews, Pink Dog Digital plus pricing, Pink Dog Digital plus case studies. So if you have, if you know that you've got people that are asking pricing, if that's the first thing they're doing is calling and asking pricing, consider adding pricing to your site. I recommend a price range because you don't want to forget that content's on there and have your prices go up and people forget, or you forget to update it, and then people are trying to hold you to an old price range. But that is helpful. If you've got good reviews, optimize for that. If you've got good case studies, optimize for that. One of the things we do internally for you is use something called schema markup and metadata to tell Google what's going on this thing. A company called Zendesk uses FAQ schema so that Google knows that their FAQ is an FAQ. And that's something that gets picked up really quickly in Google search. You also want to optimize where you can for featured snippets and people also ask. So when Corey was talking about page structure, we use something called H1s, H2s, H3s. These are headline tags that explain to Google, here's what this next paragraph is about. Here's this next section is about. And we break it up into short, clear answers immediately after that header. It gives you follow up to the details, and it invites clicks. So a blog titled, "How long should an email be?" with a 1-sentence answer followed by an in-depth explanation can win the snippet and then get the clicks. I'm going to pause there for a second. I've got several more of these, but I just want to give Coral and Corey an option to jump in. Coral, you put something in the chat, and I think that went to only the panelists. So do you want to?
Yep. So Gina mentioned schema markup, so I just wanted to throw out what schema markup is because I wasn't sure if everyone knew. It's also known as structured data, but it's basically a code that goes in the back end of your website that makes it easier for Google to read what's on the site and what's happening. So rather than just putting the information out there, the code basically speaks to Google better than you can speak to Google by just putting the content on the page. Or another example is like photos, where we're adding alt text so that either screen readers can check it or it makes it easier for Google to check it. So either way, we do that metadata on the back end. And when we're talking metadata and structured data, we're just talking about code that allows Google to better read things. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Corey, you got anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of your mention of reviews and optimizing for reviews. For local businesses, that's going to be one of the best ways to fight up against the intrusion of AI, because you want to try to focus in on being the go-to for your local area. So if you can get your business up on, for example, the local pack, which is the map with the three businesses to the side, if you can get into that, that's going to be huge. Not just for, obviously, you're going to be seen on the very front page of Google for those kinds of searches. But it's been shown that if you're on that list, you're also going to get consideration for placement in AI overviews. So, one of the best ways that you can work to get to that position in the local pack is by getting good reviews. And so for local businesses, making sure that you go to your satisfied customers and say, hey, can you take a couple of seconds and just leave us a review on Google? It would really mean a lot to us. That sort of thing, it really goes a long way in helping. And I know that that's something that uh, it's kind of external to what we're talking about with the website, but because a lot of our client base is based off of local search or just local area businesses, I felt like we needed to bring that up. Like reviews are massive. They always have been, and they're just getting even more and more important.
Agreed, 100%. For those of you that don't have physical locations, getting service area businesses without a physical location into the map pack is not easy at all. So if you do have a physical location, it's extremely helpful. Something that I've noticed happening now is, people try and game it by going to like a UPS store and getting a box. Oftentimes, Google's not going to index that. They're going to reject the listing because they know that that's um, a UPS store or something like that. But what I'm seeing now is post offices are now giving physical addresses with suite numbers, and those are not getting picked up. So if you currently have a UPS store and can't get in that map pack, you may want to think about a PO box versus that UPS style store.
And you don't actually need to even do that if you didn't want to. As long as you have a physical address that can receive the confirmation from Google, the verification, you can set up the business within the back end of Google so that it doesn't show that physical location. Because I know that's a big concern for, craftsmen that are working out of their own homes and that sort of thing. So if you don't have a physical location and you don't have a PO box, it's still possible. It is definitely harder than for businesses that have a physical location. It's been that way for God, almost 10 years now. But it isn't impossible. So.
Okay. All right, Coral's yelling at me that we have 10 minutes, so I'm going to go quick. If you can't beat them, join them. Submit your content to Perplexity as a verified source. Use structured data to increase visibility in AI search models. Optimize for Google AI overviews using helpful content guidelines. A law firm saw a 30% increase in AI summary visibility by using structured data and rewriting your FAQ pages for clarity. Google doesn't want lawyer speak or doctor speak or scientist speak. They want an average reading level of, I believe, the fifth grade. So if your content is coming in too smart, dumb it down, make it clear, use the right structured data so that people can understand what you're writing. If Google can't understand it, they're not going to serve it back to people.
And I always have people come to me when we're doing this we're talking about this type of stuff, and they're always interested in making sure that their content sounds intelligent and that it reflects who they are as a business. And while that is important, um, and I have an English degree, I have a tendency to get a little bit, flowery and fluid in what I'm writing. But when it comes to web, you have to find a balance between making sure that it is true to your brand, but also that it is a sixth to eighth grade reading level, which can be difficult to write at that level if you're used to writing at that, college level or right around there. So it's a matter of finding that balance and understanding that, well, yes, it is important to be true to your brand. You also have to make sure that you are appeasing the Google gods. So sometimes we have to dumb things down a little bit.
Yep. I mentioned this earlier. Don't put all your eggs in the Google basket. Bring traffic in through other doors. If you're not posting to LinkedIn and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and doing newsletters and podcasts and hosting webinars and events and downloadable guides and all the things, you're missing an opportunity for your audience to find you. We have a client who does a podcast called HR and Cocktails. In my wildest dreams, I would have never expected a topic about HR to do well on TikTok, but her traffic to that podcast about human resources and the cocktail of the day is wildly successful for her and drives huge amounts of traffic. So
She has over I think 8,500 followers just for her HR and Cocktails podcast.
yeah, it's crazy train. Um, Encourage clicks with curiosity. Don't write.
Hold on one second. Can I jump back in? I wasn't
Oh yeah,
quite, I
I'm
didn't know
sorry.
you were jumping to the next
No, no,
point.
no. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get through the 10 minutes. I got scolded.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure you knew what the time looked like. That was all. So this is one of my favorite things to talk about with content and publishing content in different places is if you're already writing the content, if you're already writing the blog article, if you're already creating the service page, if you're already making a video, one of the smartest things that you can do anyway, even, aside from the no click, is to repurpose that content into something that you can use in 20 different places. So for example, we'll take this webinar afterwards. We'll take the webinar, we'll probably take the transcript and use that to turn this into a blog article. We'll probably take the blog article and use it to, make a graphic of some sort or an infographic with all the information in it, just kind of basic. We'll take this video, we'll cut it up into 30-second chunks and be able to post those on Reels and TikTok and all of that. So when you've got this one really awesome piece of content, the absolute best thing you can do for yourself to save yourself time and energy and get ahead of the no-click problem is to repurpose it in as many different places and formats as you can.
And to that point, we know what's performing well. We can see through your Google Search Console, through your Google Analytics, what articles are performing well. So if they're already performing well, how can we utilize that topic and do better? Put it more places, get more eyes on the prize. You're spending the money on the content. Let's use it in as many places as we possibly can. It used to be, can I go now? Am I loud?
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. It used to be that people were worried about keywords. Well, we're not necessarily worried about keywords anymore. We're worried about how the headlines and the meta descriptions are written. And when we used to optimize for keywords, we sounded very robotic. 5 SEO tips for 2025. Well, now it's why 2025 SEO will be brutal unless you do this. So it's trying to write content that intrigues humans and makes them click on the content.
I remember the days when Google didn't really have the semantic search thing down, and we were still working with having to do exact keywords. And there were times where you'd write blog articles that were like, uh,
My attorney was this lawyer,
yeah,
attorney,
or
lawyer.
like, what attorneys are the best in Baltimore according to blah blah blah, or 10 ways you can find out what are the best attorneys in Baltimore, where it just didn't make sense, but you had to do it for Google, which thank goodness they got away from that and are doing the semantic search now so that you can actually write things like, how to find the top 10 best attorneys in Baltimore, things like that, so that you're not quite doing as grammatically incorrect, crazy keyword stuffing.
Yep. My last tip before I get into final thoughts is once you get traffic, do something with it. To just allow traffic to hit your website and not do anything with it is a lost opportunity. So things like lead magnets, funnels, email capture, retargeting pixels, loyalty programs. If if they come to your website and that is the end of the road, you are losing money 100%. And every time they hit your website, you need to be figuring out how to follow up with those people. And what can you do? Somebody goes to search for an apartment complex. They land on the apartment. They don't pick up the phone. They don't click through to the contact form. What are we doing to follow them? What are we doing to make sure that they know that we care about them as a customer and are trying to get them into the fold? Before I get into kind of a summary and final thoughts and then Q&A, Corey, Coral.
Yeah, I think that piggybacking off of what you just said, the idea is that you want to make sure that even though we're expecting fewer users to click through to your website, what you want to do is make sure that the users that are going on end up converting. I think that um, it's kind of like a logical puzzle, right? But like if you have a website that had X number of clicks and now you're getting fewer clicks, but the people that are going onto the website are much higher intent and they are in the market for your product or service, you want to make sure that you convert them. And so what you may end up finding is that even though you get fewer clicks, if your content is good and you're offering something that the user wants, you may see your conversion rates go up because there are fewer clicks, but there may be the same number of conversions or higher. So it really is it's going to be difficult because this is business. It's always going to be difficult to do this, but this is I think one of my animating principles for when I'm creating content is how am I serving the user and giving them the information they need to make a purchase decision today. Because if they want to make a purchase decision and they see what they want to see and they get the information that they need, we want to make sure that they don't go to another website, that they fill out that form or they make that purchase. So it's
And
salt.
also to Corey's point, um, if you can't get them that day, you need to continue to try to get them. So
Yeah.
it's people a lot of times will take somewhere between 12 and 20 touch points. So we have, there are times where we have people come in and it's, a brand new product and we need to get to them as many different ways as you can. So they're going to see that product the first time, maybe on the website or on social media. They also need to be getting a follow-up email. They need to be getting the retargeting ad. They need to be seeing it in pay-per-click. They need to see another social media. So they're going to a lot of times not going to buy that first time. If you can get them to convert that first time, that's magic. If you can't, then you need to be able to make sure that you have all of those follow-up touch points, which is where, newsletter comes in, social media comes in, PPC comes in, all of those different things. So.
Yeah. The idea being that if you diversify your approach, you don't put all your eggs into Google's basket. If you
Yep.
try to diversify, meet your audience where they are, you're going to do well.
Yep. So I guess in summary, and then we'll go to questions. We know that Google and AI are stealing clicks to your website. Getting great rankings aren't enough anymore. Zero-click search is going to grow. So you need a strategy on how to maximize the clicks that you're getting by creating content that's worth clicking. Own your audience. Don't let them get away. Audit your current content. Are you targeting queries that lead to clicks or just info snacks? Make sure your content is something that is encouraging clicks. Update your top performing content on the website, whether it be blogs or the regular content or a combination of both, for snippets and AI visibility. Be diverse in your traffic sources, not only in types of content, video, email, social, podcasts, everywhere. You want to be as many places as you possibly can be with as many formats as you can possibly be in, and ensure that you're implementing structured data and schema. We are doing that for our clients as we're optimizing pages. If you are writing your own blogs, you may not be doing this, and you are probably not getting the full benefit of the work that you're going through. So, and build your audience. You have an opportunity to convert now, because the people that are coming to your page are motivated. Let's help them make a buying decision instead of getting lost in the process. So, we're here. We're here to help. Depending on what you're currently doing with us, we may not be able to do much more, but reach out to one of us if you want a brand audit to see what else can I be doing to capture more leads. We will be very happy to have that conversation with you. With that, I will let Corey and Coral make their final comments, and then we've got a few minutes for any questions. So, guys, a couple minutes.
Yeah. And I will say, my kind of last point here is just the same thing that we've been talking about for, I don't know, 15 years in SEO. Content is king and queen and all of the other things. So having good content, whether that's video content, whether that's written content, etc., that is what's really going to make the difference one way or another. And then the other piece that I really want to mention is that we will be changing the way we do reporting for the clients that are on the call, so that you will see some different reporting. I think we mentioned it a little bit earlier, so that you're seeing kind of what matters and where things are at. And we're also integrating reporting for those AI large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini. So,
Corey?
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time right now in SEO and the world of digital marketing. I think I think that they're at the beginning of AI really taking off in 2023. There was a lot of skepticism and a lot of uh, fear, for lack of a better term, about what it was going to do. And I think that what we're seeing is it really is kind of the end of one era of SEO and the beginning of another. Um, as a business owner, what I would do is I would just try to stay informed about the latest developments. You don't need to chase every trend that's out there, but you kind of want to have an idea as to where your audience is and figure out, okay, how can I reach out and get to the people that I need to reach to make some sales. It's if you're seeing a tool that's getting a lot of positive press, a lot of people are starting to use it, then you can take a look and see if it's something that maybe you might be able to utilize and use to your advantage. Um, I do think that AI is really going to be a transformational force within search and within the internet as a whole. I mean, I know that years ago we were talking about voice assistants and that sort of thing. I think we're still still waiting for voice assistants to really kind of take off like we all thought they would back in like 2015. But uh, we're really seeing a lot of growth from AI tools. So it is something that we're keeping a close eye on. I personally am committed to try to learning as much as I can about AI tools so that I can better serve my clients. So um, just as long as you keep an open mind and an open ear towards what's happening, I think you're going to be in good shape.
Great segue again, Corey, because one of our next webinars is going to be on voice and visual search.
All right. Anybody have any questions? I know I asked in the chat, but if anybody's got any questions now, feel free to ask. If not, you can obviously email any of us or all of us to ask questions offline. We're around, so going once.
All right. Well, I'll say a goodbye message, and if anybody drops a question, great. If not, we'll let everybody get 7 minutes of their day back. Again, I'm Gina Ramsey. This is Pink Dog Digital. Corey and Coral and Savannah are very important parts of my team. George is in the room somewhere. There's other players behind the scenes you guys haven't met, like Zach and Nicole, and who am I missing? Lauren. So we're here to help you in any way, shape, or form. Please reach out to any of us. We're all first name at Pink Dog Digital. A lot of you guys have my cell phone number. Feel free to call, text, whatever you need, we're here for you. We want to make your Google experience with AI and AIO a success, and we want to continue to bring you great content that you can use in your marketing strategies. Okay?
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.